In the heart of Atlantis, energy wasn't just harnessed, it was harmonized. At the city's core, massive crystalline towers stood tall, like sentinels. The goal? For beauty and balance. These structures formed a vast energy grid that tapped into the Earth's natural magnetic field. To put this into perspective, think Tesla towers, but many millennia earlier. That's not all. Atlanteans believed crystals held consciousness. When properly aligned, they became pipes for anti-gravity travel, the manipulation of matter, and even time distortion. At this rate, it's clear that the features that are called fake could just be suppressed history. Even today, fragments of quartz-based tech and magnetic stone alignments in sites like Pumapunku and Baalbek continue to baffle engineers. What if these are the leftovers of Atlantean exports? But for a moment in your trip, you shift the focus from all you can see to what you hear. And that's when you realize, in Atlantis, sound was not just for music, it was the language of matter. Atlantean scientists didn't build with hammers and chisels, they built with frequency. There is only one way they could have achieved that. By directing harmonic sound waves at materials, they altered density, reshaped stone, and even levitated structures. Some accounts even describe tuning forks that could lift objects. Others tell of voice-activated doors and sonic surgeries that healed tissue without a surgical blade. Strange, right? This begs the big question. What if the Great Pyramids, the stone spheres of Costa Rica, and the H-blocks of Tiwanaku were constructed using this same lost sound tech? In the 20th century, Nikola Tesla dazzled everyone with the Wardenclyffe Tower. What they didn't know is that Atlantis was already centuries ahead, powering entire cities without wires, using piezoelectric crystals, magnetic fields, and atmospheric resonance. Atlanteans transmitted energy in an invisible manner. Light glowed without bulbs. Water flowed uphill. Vehicles glided silently. The real kicker? They did this without polluting a single atom of air. This is the height that environmentalists today keep striving to achieve. But the thing is, an advanced civilization already did them millennia ago. And if by chance you get sick during your visit to Atlantis, brace yourself. They've got some healing tactics up their sleeves. In Atlantis, medicine wasn't just about curing illness, it was about restoring harmony. The Atlanteans believed disease began as a disruption in the body's frequency, so instead of pills or incisions, healers used vibration. Light, sound, and color weren't mere aesthetics like in today's world. Back then, they were medicine. Patients lay beneath domes shaped like prisms, where beams of colored light pulsed in specific frequencies to realign chakras, mend tissues, and calm the nervous system. Today, fringe sciences like chromotherapy and bioresonance echo these ideas. But in Atlantis, they were standard practice. Can you believe that? You don't walk into a hospital in Atlantis. You enter a temple. Walls are carved with sacred geometry. Incense wafts through crystalline air. And silence over there isn't awkward, it's medicinal. Even the method of diagnosis was different. Aura readers and telepathic scans replaced MRIs. Illnesses were viewed not as invasions, but as spiritual imbalances seeking attention. Little wonder when modern archaeologists find ancient temple ruins with surgical precision, cut into stone tables and odd metallic instruments nearby. They wonder, were these early hospitals? But as unique as the hearing system was in Atlantis, nothing prepares you for their aging techniques. In Atlantis, aging wasn't feared. It was optional. Some citizens regularly entered rejuvenation chambers. These are crystalline pods that emit low-frequency waves to repair DNA, regenerate tissue, and even awaken ancestral memory. The thought of it alone is mind-boggling. You want to know what they say? It's said these chambers could extend life by centuries. Atlanteans believed DNA carried the echoes of past lives. Healing the body also unlocked forgotten knowledge. Modern science calls this epigenetics. Atlantis called it remembering. But here's the question: if such tech existed, what happened to it? The answer? We'll never know. But as you walk down the streets of Atlantis, you strike up a convo with some Atlanteans, and you notice something. In Atlantis, leadership wasn't inherited, it was earned. Kings and queens weren't just figureheads of royal blood, but initiates who had passed tests of mental discipline and spiritual maturity. Merit guided monarchy, and the throne was shared with councils of sages, healers, and scientists. What's more, they are selected by intellect, intuition, and integrity. Behind the rulers, there is something too unreal to utter. A priesthood unlike any other. Let's talk about the Atlantean priests for a minute. These priests were energy masters trained in astral projection, alchemy, and universal law right from childhood. Their temples kept beating with spiritual knowledge. And their government? It was far from what we know today. In those times, governance embraced duality. Every council balanced masculine logic with feminine wisdom. Children were taught not just facts, but also a strict focus. In this world, psychic ability wasn't supernatural. It was the standard. Isn't this the best kind of governance? By now, you've fed your eyes with the wonders of Atlantis. The next thing is to fall into the routine of being an Atlantean. What does daily life in Atlantis look like? First, you wake up not to a buzzing alarm, but to light filtered gently through translucent crystal walls. Like most homes in Atlantis, yours is made of a shimmering alloy called orichalcum. This is a legendary metal said to gleam like fire and conduct energy like no other. Over there, windows aren't just for sunlight. They're made of crystal glass that amplifies positive frequencies and shields against energetic pollution. Thinking about it alone makes you want to do a world revamp, right? And when you talk about transportation, the traditional asphalt and engines become useless. In Atlantis, travel is seamless, silent, and almost magical. Yes, levitating pods glide along unseen tracks, guided by resonance rather than roads. Most likely these crafts are powered by crystal-based energy systems adjusted to the Earth's natural magnetic field. Ever need to cross the ocean? Just enter an underwater transit tunnel, and you'd be at your destination in no time. This was the level of advanced technology Plato was trying to portray in his dialogues. And if you are to talk about how work, play, and divinity were segmented, think again. Daily life in Atlantis wasn't divided between career and self-care. Instead, your occupation reflected your soul's frequency. Artists, healers, architects, and scientists were all the same. Work wasn't seen as labor, but a sacred contribution to the community. Play meant immersive learning. Music, dance, and meditation were core rituals, not side hobbies. On the other hand, spiritual practice wasn't optional. It was embedded in daily routines. Imagine crystal calibration in the morning, then collective resonance baths at dusk. Every action was a conscious ritual, even eating. This wasn't utopia. It was designed. When you think about it, could it be that the lost key to human potential was hidden in how we lived? Did you know that long before Magellan set sail or Columbus touched the Americas, Atlantean navigators were already crisscrossing the globe? Here is how they did it. They didn't use paper maps or compasses. Instead, they read the stars like a language. Like Plato narrated, Atlantean ships, which were powered by magnetic propulsion, were built to harness Earth's energy grid. These days, some scholars point to the Piri race map, which is a 16th century enigma showing Antarctica ice-free as a remnant of Atlantean knowledge. This leads us to ask, who mapped a continent buried under miles of ice centuries before we discovered it? Was this global awareness just a legend? Or did Atlantis really touch all corners of the Earth? And when we talk about the artifacts all over the world, the tension in the room increases. How do African-style statues end up in ancient Olmec sites in Mexico? Why do pre-Columbian ruins in Peru resemble temple designs from Egypt? Mainstream archaeology calls it a coincidence, but Atlantean theorists beg to differ. They say it was through contact. But wait, contact with what? Let's take a look. Trinkets, carvings, and pyramidal blueprints stretch across continents like breadcrumb trails. In Bolivia's Puma Punku, precision-cut stones fit together like 3D puzzle pieces so much that some claim the techniques match those in Giza. Over in Japan's Yonaguni Monument, an underwater city lies suspiciously aligned with the Atlantean description. Were these cultural overlaps just spontaneous genius, or are they proof of a lost trade network led by one global empire? According to Plato, Egyptian priests claimed Atlantis fell 9,000 years before Solon's time. But what if that wasn't the end, but only the beginning of a diaspora? Legends say that some Atlanteans fled the cataclysm and seeded civilization elsewhere. Egypt's Thoth, Quetzalcoatl in Mesoamerica, Viracocha in Peru, bearded, light-skinned gods who taught writing, astronomy, and ethics. Could this be a pure coincidence? Even the Dogon people of Mali speak of sky visitors with cosmic knowledge. This is eerily similar to the Atlantean mythos. This led to the theory that when Atlantis fell, maybe it didn't disappear as Plato said. What if it simply spread? And if there is one thing to note about Atlanteans, it's that they didn't fear death. They viewed it as a transition in an eternal journey. Reincarnation wasn't a theory, it was known. Memories of past lives were sometimes accessible, especially to priests and sages who mastered soul sciences. They believed in karmic cycles too. These are actions echoed through lifetimes until harmony is restored. In those days, prophets warned of a coming imbalance, where greed would overpower wisdom and the island's fall would become inevitable. But how was this even possible? We are talking about an advanced civilization that had things figured out. What could go wrong? But as magnificent as Atlantis was, a time came when its people began to forget its purpose. Although the Atlanteans were advanced in thinking, there is hardly any advancement that can stop a greedy soul. In the story told by Plato, the immense greed and moral decline of the people were too much for the gods to bear. To this effect, their wrath came upon the land in a massive earthquake, and in a single night, Atlantis vanished. But in this story, something doesn't add up. If indeed it was the earthquake that wiped out the Atlantean civilization, why did this catastrophe happen at around the same time as the Great Flood? Was it an earthquake like Plato said, or was the Great Deluge the real divine punishment?